Lilly, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome to our city, to our home.
I'm always happy to be here, my second home.
Good. Lilly, roughly a month ago, when your show, A Little Late with Lilly Singh, dropped on NBC, you became the first openly bisexual woman of color to be on.
Diving right into it. Here we
yeah,
go.
yeah. You've
right.
heard this like a million times. To host a late night show. Add to that the fact that you're only 31 years old.
I like the only.
Right.
Only
And one can see why this is such a big deal. Late night has been traditionally the bastion of the straight white man. What's the first month been like for you?
It has been, I think, first and foremost, a very big learning experience.
Sure.
You know, of course, it's a huge honor. Some days, if I'm being very candid, some days are super exciting, and I get to mingle with my guests. And then some days, the schedule changes 25 times. I'm stressed, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna quit. You know, so every day is a little different. But I think more than anything, I just learn so much every day because I've never done anything like this before. Sure, I've told stories and I've been on camera, but this world of scheduling talent and then doing so many shows a day in front of so many people, it's a new experience for me. And so every day I learn 10 new things. You know, a lot of people are wondering how my new show is going to be different. Just because I'm a woman doesn't mean it's going to be all unicorns and rainbows.
You said, starting out, that what you were really looking forward to was this opportunity to build the show from scratch. And NBC said, it's going to be reflective of her personality and who she is. To that end, it was great to see on the first episode that you had another woman of color who's also been chipping away at the glass ceiling, Mindy Kaling. I also love that at your desk you have framed photographs of French fries.
Correct.
And I'm assuming that's your pet dog.
100%, the two loves of my life are on my desk. That is correct.
That was important for you.
Very important. I feel like, you know, every part of my show, I wanted it to be a reflection of me no matter how imperfect I am. So do I know it's weird that there are French fries on my desk? Absolutely, and that's why they're there. So everything from my monologue topics to what I'm wearing to even the banter I'm doing with the DJ, everything is very me. And I'm so grateful to NBC because they've really let me be myself on the show.
You've actually said that what was most important for you was to be your authentic self, and that's something that you want to spread across everything that you do. It's interesting because you know, one sees that. One saw the vlog that you did from the getting ready process for the Met Gala. And it feels like I would imagine every woman who's worn every girl who's worn a big elaborate dress can identify with the whole fear of wanting to pee.
100%. Also, very similar to when I used to wear saris as a young person.
Of course.
Same struggle.
Of course. You know, to that end, Lilly, what's been the endeavor? I mean, what is the work that requires to be one's one's true authentic self when one is you know, sort of speaking to a gazillion people on this huge network?
That is a very good question. I don't often get asked this question, so it's kind of twofold. Everyone says, you know, I want to be myself on camera, but what they don't realize is it actually takes a lot of work to be yourself on camera, and the reason is because there's so many parts of my show.
Of course.
If I really want it to be reflective of me, that means I need to make the time to sit in my writer's room, make sure what they're writing is actually my point of view. I need to sit with my stylist, make sure what I'm wearing is actually things that I would wear. So it just takes a lot of time and effort. Even the way my show's marketed, I had so many calls being like, no, I want to make sure it has this attitude and this type of vibe, but of course, the easy thing to do is to say, you guys handle it, tell me what to do, and I'll do it. But then you don't get the authentic version of yourself. So it is a lot of work. And also, I will say that it's 50% work and 50% psychological. You know, a lot of being your authentic self means that you're allowing people to judge your authentic self as well. You know, when you put on a facade, if someone says something mean to you, you're like, it's okay, I don't care, that wasn't even me. But when you're actually being yourself,
it's personal,
and then someone says something to you, you're like, you're actually saying something about me. So it's definitely 50% psychological of you have to love yourself more than you're scared of what other people think.
You know, it's interesting you say that because I was going to say you're no stranger to attention. Your YouTube channel has like 15 million subscribers or so. You've been running it for about, and that'll probably change by the time this interview goes up. It'll go up a couple of million. You know, I would imagine you're also no stranger to trolls and haters. How did you deal with some of the mixed reviews? I remember Vanity Fair saying...
Oh great, are you going to read mixed reviews? I love this, let's do this. Okay.
Vanity Fair said Lilly Singh is making history, but she doesn't quite have the formula right yet. And I'm guessing there were, you know, with all the love come the brickbats.
Of course.
What was that like?
So of course, I mean, this is my brain baby. It's my show's my baby, just like my book and my tour. It's something very close to me. I'm very open to feedback, especially because, like I said, this is the first time I've done the show of this nature. There were a lot of articles that were, I would say it was overwhelmingly positive, the response.
It was.
But there were some articles that said it's still finding its footing,
Yeah.
it doesn't quite know. And I'm so open to that criticism because they're absolutely right. I mean, watching the first episode of a show, of course we don't have everything figured out. Of course I'm still getting in a flow of things. And so with time, we'll figure all that out. But it's a huge operation, so to expect everything to be flawless, even in the first couple of weeks, is just unrealistic. But I appreciate that feedback.
But are you sporting about it? I mean, and can you tell from the can you sort of sift through between the trolls and the haters and those that offer genuine sort of criticism?
Yeah. So generally, ugly is just a hater. But if someone says, this game was a little confusing, I will take that feedback because I feel like that's constructive. I also am wary of things that are subjective.
Sure.
Because there are some people.
It might work for some, yeah.
Exactly. So the thing about comedies is it is very subjective. I'll give you an example. My opening rap, 99% of people were like, we loved how you started it.
Right.
There was one review that was like, wasn't a fan of that. I'm not going to take that to heart because that's just people's opinion. But if someone says, I found this confusing or this was a little bit finicky for me, that of course I think is really valid.
The games are fun, I have to say. I particularly like the one you played with Natalie Portman.
Oh yeah,
Shot caller.
Drinking alcohol. Love that one
Always,
too.
never fails. Yeah. And I love how you had to send the message to Jacqueline Fernandez.
Yes, and she showed up to the studio. Did you hear this?
No,
yes.
I didn't.
So I sent her the text message. I actually forgot that she was in LA.
Right.
And she came to the studio to be like, Is everything okay? I totally forgot. Totally forgot. But to give you another example, there was one article that said, Lilly, when she interviews people, sometimes she's looking too much into camera or she's like interrupting. And for me, I took that. I was like, oh, that is a good piece of feedback. So I've actually worked on improving that. So I'm totally open to improving myself and receiving feedback as long as it's not calling me ugly, which is also fine. But I'm not going to take that to heart.
On one of the early episodes, you made a misguided joke about turbans, and you apologized immediately. You also said, in fact, I hope you continue to make space for me to make mistakes and learn from them. What did that incident teach you? That
I'm going to make mistakes. I think that what it taught me is that you can be the most well-intentioned person, but there's a lot of moving parts, like I said, and I will probably make more mistakes, not intentionally.
Sure.
And it taught me the importance of making room to make mistakes. And also forgiving other people that make mistakes, you know? I will say that when I apologized, I knew there was a big part of me that was like, just don't bring attention to it. People forget, but I didn't want to do that. I actually wanted to lead by example of saying, no, people make mistakes, and we should make room to educate them. That's how people improve.
And did that go down well?
It did, I think. I don't know. Hopefully. We'll see. But I am genuinely sorry, and I genuinely made a mistake, and I might make more, and I hope people forgive me all over again.
What was the most valuable advice you got from someone getting into this gig, sort of before you took the job, maybe?
I got a lot of good advice from a lot of people. I think one of the best pieces of advice was probably from Trevor Noah.
Yeah.
He gave me some very honest advice that I needed. It was actually at the Met Gala. And he said, I need you to know that your life will be consumed by this show.
Right.
And I needed to hear that because everybody else was kind of just sugarcoating the experience for me. They were like, yeah, I know it'll be great. You'll still get lots of rest and you'll be able to do other things. And he was like, no. From the moment you start the show, I need you to know it will take over your whole life. And because he told me that, I was able to fully commit and expect that. From September to December, I know my life is the show, and I fully accept that.
How does that affect the YouTube, the commitment to YouTube, what you've been doing?
I mean, I'm not on a regimented schedule anymore. I used to crazily do 8 to 9 videos a week. I still love YouTube. I love the community. I'm by no means not going to do YouTube anymore. It's not as regimented of a schedule, and once I wrap in December, I'll probably upload a little bit more.
What were you most unprepared for about this gig?
Everything. Every single part of it. No. What was I most unprepared for? I think the thing I didn't think about was I'm a pretty energetic person.
Right.
Some people have said I'm the female Ranveer Singh. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I didn't say it. But the point is, I've been known to have a lot of energy. And so I wasn't really stressed about my energy.
Sure.
What I didn't take into account was when I shoot with my team, it's about 5 to 7 people.
Right.
I'm the type of person that likes to be friends with everyone. I like to ask everyone how they're doing. When you have 100 people on set, it's actually very tiring to be like, how are you? Great show. Like that in itself is very, so I think the amount of energy that is required just to be pleasant on set is a lot. And I wasn't accounting for that.
You've been identified, and everyone knows you as, or has known you for the longest time as Superwoman. On YouTube, that's the nickname you took, you picked. You said to The Hollywood Reporter before you set off on the show that more and more you'd like to be known as Lilly. In fact, you changed all your social media handles except YouTube to Lilly
No, even
Singh.
YouTube has changed.
Even
actually.
YouTube.
Yep.
So, why was that important, and how is Lilly Singh going to be different from what Superwoman stood for?
So I think in terms of what they stand for, it's very similar. Superwoman was still always Lilly.
Right.
Superwoman
Yeah,
was
of
just
course.
Superwoman was just, she never gets tired, she never gets sad, she's on stage, she's so loud, she has so much energy, she's always funny. Lilly has the same moral compass, but gets tired sometimes, gets sad sometimes. I think as I've grown older, I have found strength in those vulnerable moments, and I think those stories are actually really powerful to share. Right. And so, calling myself Lilly, saying, hey, I still have the same moral compass, I'm still the performer, but sometimes I do get sad and I do get tired, I think that's actually more powerful than that constantly strong type of facade.
Right.
Also, I don't want to pay DC Comics for the rest of my life. That's another reason. I don't want to pay people money to use Superwoman, okay? So I have to come up with a reason, a deep and empowering reason.
Correct. Sounds very profound, and yeah.
There.
Works. You've said quite often that the role models that you grew up sort of adoring were The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, Selena Gomez, and Madhuri Dixit.
Yes, absolutely.
It's really interesting, and it's sort of reflective of the kind of your identity. Someone who's straddling identities and cultures. You have the Indian influences, and of course you have the American pop culture influences. It's also evident in how easily you can go from dancing on the top of a bar with Ranveer Singh at the GQ Awards to sitting down with The Rock and giving him advice on how to start his YouTube channel, the sketch that you guys did. I suppose that's something that reflects on your show as well, isn't it? Because you're constantly talking about what it's like, what it was like living with your folks until you were 25. The parents wouldn't let you have sleepovers, and that feels like such an Indian thing. And the next moment you're chatting with Natalie Portman and Rainn Wilson. Is that something that is who you are? Someone who's straddling multiple identities.
I mean, sometimes I read interesting comments that are kind of like, why do you keep bringing up the fact that you're Indian? Or why do you keep bringing up the fact that you're this and that? And I think what a lot of people need to remember is when I talk on that show, I'm literally just talking from my point of view. So if I'm talking about being Indian, it's because my point of view is impacted by being Indian. You know what I mean? I'm not just bringing it up because I have a checklist being like, I mentioned Indian 3 times. So yes, my show is very much so a reflection of my experience, and my experience is a cross of 2 cultures. I had some liberties and I had some very strict guidelines, and that's my life.
But what do you like when you're here? When you're in India, I know you. Punjab is home, or certainly your dad's home. When you're in India, when you're in Mumbai, are there just staples? Are there things that you? I mean, does this feel like home a little bit?
It does.
Like
I honestly think every part of India feels like home to me. I've been to Mumbai a lot of times. I've been to Delhi. Of course, I've been to Punjab. But I don't really feel more at home at one place or the other.
Sure.
Anywhere in India kind of feels like home to me. In terms of staple things I like to do, I like to eat. I love
street food.
See, here's the thing.
Right. I thought you were gonna.
There's nothing wrong with the street food. There's something wrong with my stomach. So because we're from America, Canada actually, we're used to a certain type of just processing that's different from here. So my stomach might get upset. I love rickshaws.
Okay.
I prefer to take a rickshaw everywhere. I don't care if it's a 1-hour drive.
Right.
And every time I come here and they think I'm a fancy person, they try to hire me a car. I'm like, no, I want a rickshaw.
Nice.
So I just more than anything though, what I like.
So you're low maintenance?
I would say so. I know a lot of people say that, but I actually prefer low maintenance. Like I don't like fancy hotels.
Okay.
I don't like when the cream has like ingredients like black pepper and pomegranate in it. I want a basic lotion in my. And I also don't really like fancy. I don't know, just foods and stuff. I just want like simple things. But one of my favorite things about India, and I've noticed this time and time again, is no matter where I go in the country, there's a certain energy people have, which is just happiness and gratitude. And I feel like in America, we have a lot of problems that are just fabricated in our minds.
Sure.
And you get a really, I don't know, I feel like humans are a lot more grounded in India than in America.
You have all these friends in high places, as they say. The Rock is a buddy, and Priyanka Chopra is on your speed dial, and Deepika and you are hanging out at the Met Gala. When are they going to be on the show?
I know. So me and Priyanka have been texting nonstop about this. Obviously, she's attending the tour with her husband Nick. So it's been a little hard to coordinate, but we're working on it. Deepika, I've also been reaching out to her team. I don't know when her plans for LA are next, but she
Right.
knows the second she's in LA. And Ranveer, I mean, I'm gonna get him on the show too. My plan is to get all of them on the show. I want all of them on the show.
Lilly, you're a YouTube superstar, you're a late night host, a best-selling author, a sometime actor in film and in television. You're a producer now with Unicorn Island Productions.
Look at you, you did your research. Oh my God, wow.
You did say early on that the plan is global domination. What's the next goal?
After global domination? Is that what you're referring to?
I would imagine in these.
I think, you know, as I've grown up, my goals have really changed.
Sure.
I think that success is subjective and the term is very loose. So when I was first starting out, success might have meant like X amount of subscribers
Right.
or X amount of views or this amount
And
of
now
movies.
ratings, I would imagine, yeah?
Yeah, sure. But I think now success has changed a little bit for me. I'm very much so always thinking about the legacy I want to leave behind.
Right.
Because I recognize some of the things that were on my earlier vision boards are milestones that just impact me, but I want to hit milestones that impact other people as well. So the show is really important to me because I feel like that helps pave a path and leave a legacy. I do feel, regardless of the outcome with my show, it will be easier for someone else that looks like me now to get a show.
Right.
That for me is an important legacy. So I
Right.
want to do more things like that.
Right.
I especially, you know, I'm super into philanthropic efforts. I have Girl Love, which is my social good campaign.
Yeah.
What can I do with that? Can
You've
I
spoken
send
so much about
yes,
mental
exactly.
health.
How can I change the culture of being a girl? How can I send more girls to school? For me, that's a more important legacy than reaching a number of subscribers.
You know, it feels like there is a moment that brown people are having in America. You know, look at what Priyanka's achieved, look at what you're doing, Hassan Minaj, and plenty names. How do you make sure that this is not just a moment and that this is not just a phase and that this is, you know, a tectonic shift, if you like?
Well, I don't think it's a phase at all, to
Right.
be honest. I think that the world is, and especially Hollywood, is starting to recognize that stories that represent the real world are important.
Right.
You know, you have the success of Black Panther, Crazy
Yeah.
Rich Asians. They're finally understanding that people want to see themselves on screen, and I don't think that's a phase or a moment. I think that's a late realization, if anything.
Right.
I also think it's very important to support the people who are paving that path, you know? I always tell people this, if I'm being very candid, my community is the biggest supporter of me,
Yeah.
but also the biggest critic of me.
Sure.
You know, and I think a lot of my other Desi counterparts agree with that.
Right.
And I think we need to really loudly show support when someone in our community is doing something well, because if they can't rely on their own community for support, how are they going to keep paving that path?
True.
So I always say when I'm doing my live show and the audience is full of brown people, like, this is the support we need. It's not just tweeting, it's not just saying, it's about showing up, buying the tickets, really supporting the people that need to pave that path, you know?
Right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank
Looking forward
you
to lots
so much.
more. The
Appreciate
show, of
it.
course, is on Star World as
Yes.
well in India, so all the Indian fans can
Weekends
watch
at
it on
8,
Star World.
weeknights at 11, Star World HD, boom, in your
Thank
mouth.
you. You make us so proud. Thank you so much.
You make me
Thank
so proud. Appreciate it.
Thank you.